Lewis Swan enters the mayor's office, a municipal building he is quite fond of. The dome at the top of the building has been his focal point of life ever since he was a young boy. He looks to it as the center of the universe, or as something of an umbilical belly button. To this day, sometimes Lewis will take a small lunch to the park to sit and mimic eating and just watch the dome, even just the edges, as that is what the sightline of the park provides. The reflection of light or shadow is cause for elation, memorizing every curve as he has before, counting the number of rivets he can both see and not see. And it is here at the mayor's office that Lewis uses the metropolitan labyrinth to spread his wings, metaphorically speaking, at least for now. It is through here that events are planned, and his words reach the masses, where he can tempt and float and sweep nothing to the citizens of Surf City into doing his bidding. Well, most of them at least, and some of the time at least. Over his many years of requesting space and time in the community center or in the municipal building proper, he has learned one very important lesson. It does not bode well to interrupt Martha while she is on her break, while she enjoys one of her virtual sparring matches. Martha Margrave would be Lewis Swan's nemesis if she cared enough about him to give him a thought beyond the glass partition outside of her desk. Insomuch as she can and does care, Martha is the town's bureaucrat. If the mayor is the head of the town, she is the neck which turns, or the lungs which fill with life. Without Martha Margrave, there could still be a Surf City, sure, but there would be no commissioning committee, there would be no holiday dances, no Lions Club, or Kiwanis Club, or Women's Sewing Circle Auxiliary Committee, as there has been all in the past. Martha Margrave keeps the world of Surf City spinning, and in turn, it keeps her from concentrating too deeply on memories of dark personal events, sometimes tied to those self-same communal events enjoyed by all. Now, dear listeners, this is a reminder that communal events take place in many spaces on Earth. Preferred event types for mortals include parades, which means shoes and sunblock, roller skating parties, which means making sure your ankles are stable, ankles being the connected part between the leg and the foot, or a jamboree. The jamboree is my personal favorite. It often does come in other names, though, so be aware. Listen for the words festival, celebration. Sometimes this is even focused on a particular crop or life event. May Day, Onion Festival, Tomato Town. Mortals have a fun way of learning how to celebrate their life. And for those who have not had a charge in some time or who are new to your charges, celebrations are important as they break up the monotony of the everyday quote unquote drudgery of mortal life. Ask your charge about their birthday, for instance. Their feelings on balloons, both hot air and helium filled. Ask their thoughts about strawberry shortcake with whipped cream. We are only as effective as guides and confidants as when we get to know our charges. Which celebrations do yours enjoy? Resurrections, wakes, educational celebration ceremonies? Ask for photo albums. Photo albums tell all. Every morning at 6:30 a.m., Martha awakens. She lives in a little house 2 blocks from the beach. Her neighbors birdwatch for cardinals or robins on the eaves of their shared property line. To her, the birds sound more like ghosts. Not that she would admit that to anyone, and not that it is anyone else's business. Her first cup of coffee comes at 7 a.m. before she can put on her daily ensemble's finishing touches, lipstick, and jewelry. She believes in being presentable, but in the silence of her own home, presentability is less an issue. She does not dress either too severely, nor as though she is chasing away death, that old scoundrel, as it were. For death to offer a game of chess to Martha Margrave would be unwise. But of course, for all of us, those here with the cosmic, we know that death, depending upon region and religious preference, prefers something more rousing if a game is requested. And of course, one must request a game in the old language. Newer English can often mean a refutation and often the kind of melodramatic fervor experienced in Ingmar Bergman's Persona, a 1966 filmographic experience about a breakdown by the sea. Slightly in the same vein as the filmographic experience of The Seventh Seal, which introduced the concept to a wary public of death enjoying chess. Thank you to several of our listeners for those filmographic reminders from recent Earth historical events. While drinking coffee, Martha marks down the day on her Surf City civic calendar. July is her favorite month. Instead of going for something simply patriotic, the pictures on the July calendar page are a showcase of outdoor events at the park, whether historical battle recreation, LARP, live action role play, or hospital fundraising carnival. July to her is life, not the heat. She could do without the heat, which only seems to get worse and worse the more the years roll on. The life and the action of these memories is warmer for her than the sun can be, and warmth that she super appreciates. It is the bitter cold that reminds her the sound of cardinals. Speaking of cardinals, it is my pleasure to introduce your new charge desk assistant, Novacon. Novacon has had 3 charges in the past 200 years and can date their own line in recorded memory back to the litigious time of St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis of Assisi, for when you like your birds indoors. Welcome, Novacon. I am sure I speak for all of us when I say we are glad for your assistance in making sure our charges get all the help they need. Engel is thrilled with this. Engel is thrilled with their new partner and is sure you will be too. Martha, just by virtue of her age, has done a bit of doodling out of Surf City's family histories, marking the comings and goings, for no reason that she can think of particularly, but for a reason deep down which haunts her, at the edges of her soul. She has noticed, as she is not a fool, that though Surf City doesn't really seem to grow population wise, it never seems to shrink either. There is a perpetual nature to Surf City's citizens. Always enough buildings for everyone, and though some leave, they always seem to be replaced. Even with the shuttering of the main church, there are 2 religious clergy who have unofficial office hours in their respective office buildings. Martha Margrave is studious and quick enough to be intrigued by this information. Now, she does on occasion spend a week at a retreat for town planners, learning new skills, making networking choices, enjoying foreign food, learning the problems of other little towns somewhat but definitely not completely like her own. She always misses Surf City, though, and is always glad for the subsidation of the overwhelming feeling of need for her own tea kettle and her shared eaves, and the sound of children that used to play on the sidewalk, but are now grown with children of their own. All these sounds waiting when she returns. Sometimes Martha remembers being younger, the panic of wanting to leave Surf City, the joy of playing with her sister Mary, but Martha is alone now. She tries not to see the mere wreckage of the past in her mind's eye. Were she with the cosmic, it would be easier, as time here does not appear as it does on Earth. It is not a line, it is not a horizon, nor a mysterious marching forth. But for Martha Margrave, on Earth, the world is vast, and Surf City's static population quite intriguing. A puzzle to be solved, undone. In this way, and against her, Lewis Swan's sweet words and entreatments for special privileges, almost an overuse of the calendar for himself and his groupies, as Martha thinks of them, are ineffective. She can see his smile plainly, almost too wide, the casual way with which he leans against the glass partition. She fights hard to keep her job, knowing that if somebody were to take her seat to become enamored with him, the word cult flashes before her mind, but she does not utter it, does not fear the word, merely calculates it for a moment and its power and decides to rob Lewis of that gesture, of any specialness the word cult might have. If Lewis Swan knew her strength, he would surely cower. And yes, his smile is wide. It promises things. It is curiously bird-like. There is a lightness to Lewis Swan. Were he a chess piece, he would be a bishop, an easy enough piece to trap in Martha's mind, and one of her favorite plays. Martha is glad for the interruption when Varric walks in, merely ignoring Lewis, save for a nod of hello. Sheriff O Mare is dressed in his standard sheriff uniform, though out of politeness for Martha, removes his hat while approaching the desk. He is one "evening, ma'am" away from having the presence of a small town southern sheriff. They exchange pleasantries, a formality, until Lewis Swan slinks away without his reward, which he much do, because Varric himself, though not perhaps as wise, is almost more bemused than anything toward Lewis Swan. And this makes Lewis angry enough and humiliated enough in this moment to want to do something about it. A short message from Trouble. You always remark on how your charges are special, but most of them are not. Just because they know you does not mean the cosmic really cares. You know deep down how unfeeling the cosmic is. It is not an empty space, no, but you know. You know it knows too much, it has seen too much. It is almost full with knowledge in a way you cannot be, and certainly a mortal can never be. Your charge. You're mortal. You know they hunger for knowledge for things they cannot understand. You know they are apt to gorge, and they have no aptitude for subtlety. Listeners, I will not read the rest of this message. Varric finds a small kitten, fluffy white with red paws, lurking near the doorway of the municipal entrance. It gives a brief little mew and pleading eyes. Varric, after a few moments, seeing no fleas, picks it up. Now where did you come from, little one? Is that blood or are those paws the way you were made? He chuckles to himself, talking to the cat. No collar, huh? You're not a stray looking for a warm meal, are you? The cat merely makes noises in response, but also chuckles internally, darkly, always darkly. Barrick's reason for seeing Martha was twofold. The first was to make pleasant rounds, not quite daily, but at least twice weekly. Sheriff O Mare believes in personal touches, believes in rules, not as so emphatically entrapping, but as a gateway to enlightenment. That is why the small white kitten in his hand will end up on his cabin porch that very evening. The other reason was to bring Martha a confiscated video game from a wily teenager who believed in stealing and is not so lost to trouble but not quite found anymore. The game is called Cruel Encounters. Martha will enjoy the changing of weaponry, the building of allies. She enjoys things that remind her of chess. In thankfulness, Martha reminds him of a lunch appointment but gives him a wrong number. Perhaps this wrong number is fate, perhaps unintentional, but perhaps she has seen them together and deigns herself matchmaker. In any case, Edgar is slightly stunned by the message. From there. We're on for lunch at 11 tomorrow, right? Did Lewis Swan transform into that cat that we've seen before? Has Martha just rekindled a relationship between two hearts? How will Varric react to Edgar's VR withdrawals? And what of flying frying pans at Surf City Donuts? Well, the only way to find out those answers and appreciate these small glimpses of humanity, dear listeners, is to tune in and to listen. Surf City is an audio work of John McDonald's John McDonald Productions. It is meant for entertainment purposes only and is not meant to advise anyone lifestyle, health, or spiritual philosophical issues on there or anytime. All opinions expressed are held by the characters and in some cases the creator of Surf City and Surf City known as John McDonald.